for the pick segment presented by BetMGM. I was 3-2 last week, which I think is very respectable considering what I thought was going to happen. Nate, you were 4-1. Beller, you were also 4-1. So I didn't beat you guys, but at least I didn't go 0 and sitting in last place in the pool. If you guys have not gotten in your picks for the pool this week on Run Your Pool, please do that. Still got a couple days, obviously, to make that happen. So don't forget. I think the last time I looked, only like 700 people had put their picks in, and it's Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. So please remember to do that. Nate, why don't you start us off? What are you looking at this week?
Yeah, I'm more or less going to go in like descending order of how good I feel about these games. And
nice.
The first one, this is probably the two I feel best about. So I'm going to go the Vikings plus 1.5 at the Eagles. I think this is going to be an awesome game. I'm excited. And I after we talked about it, I just kind of like how the Vikings are going to match up with them. I think offensively, they'll do some good stuff against the Eagles defense. I think it's going to be a barn burner though. Number 2 would be the Ravens hosting the Dolphins minus 3.5. I think this Ravens defense looked quite good. I think anybody would against the Jets offense last week, but they really can get after it. This Dolphins offensive line looked very, very rough, not only just personnel wise, but also schematically. Their eyes were terrible. I think this Ravens defensive line is going to really take advantage of that. So I'm curious how that's going to work out. Also, next one, going Patriots minus 1.5 at the Steelers. We didn't get into our hazmat segment, but I think Bill Belichick is going to have Matt Canada and a Rowdy Piper sleeper hold, knock him out. I think every passing down is going to be rough for the Steelers offense. So I think this one's going to be a slugfest, and not in a fun, cool way, but more of like a really dirty. It might as well be played in the muck, like the Bears 49ers game was. I think that's how this game's going to look. Next one, I'm going to go the Raiders hosting the Cardinals. Raiders minus 5.5. I think this Raiders team's still decent. They got some dudes up front. Max Crosby looked so good last week. He was borderline unblockable in the run game as well. I think this Cardinals offensive line still dicey. I think also just the Raiders offense is a little better than maybe we saw. We'll see Derek Carr maybe get he can pick up protections. He's pretty good with his eyes. And the last one I have is Texans plus 10.5 at the Broncos. This is more of a, okay, all right, Broncos on a short week. Yes, they're at home, but I'd see the Texans as more of a sound team. I don't think they're good or anything, but I think this is going to kind of be a low-key game where they keep it close. I think the Broncos do win, but 10.5 is a lot. So yeah, I think that's my 5 picks.
I hate the Texans plus 10.5, and that's why I also picked it. It just seems like 10.5 points is so many points.
So much
against the Broncos team that we don't know if they're good. Yeah. I mean, the Texans looked fine. I think the Texans have some intriguing young pieces. Yep. Their offensive line is considerably better than it was last year. So 10.5, I just thought was a ton of points. So I also have the Texans.
They're the 78-82 Madden team. That's the Texans team.
Fine.
That's fine. At 10.5.
I don't know if the Broncos should be a double-digit favorite over that 78-82 Madden team.
Beller put it perfect. They're competent. That's what they are. And I think that's against a team that just botched a fourth quarter drive, like on national TV. Yeah, I'm going to take Lovie Smith.
I don't feel good about it. I mean, week 2 of this exercise, I definitely don't feel good about it. I have the Chargers plus 3.5 tonight. The field goal, I love that extra half point. I just think it's going to be a close game. I think getting that is why I've just kind of clicked into that. Saints plus 3.5 against the Bucks. The Bucks did not look great last week. Every single receiver for the Bucks is hurt right now. Donovan Smith also didn't practice on Thursday. The Saints are at home, so I like the Saints getting points at home against that Bucs team. I also have the Ravens minus 3.5. Pretty much everything that you said. The Ravens front looked awesome against the Jets last week. I mean, Matabike, we could talk about that, but even beyond that, I love some of the stuff that the Raiders defense was doing. And everything that I saw from the Ravens defense is that they had all this new shit that they were trotting out there, entirely new defensive scheme, and it looked pretty good. It looked like those guys were locked in. I felt the opposite about the Dolphins offense, especially in the run game. It was a mess so often last week. And I think if they struggle to move the ball, I think that Tua having some moving pictures on the back end and so many different reasons, I think the Dolphins offense is going to struggle.
6 different Dolphins got a carry outside of Tua. Like they're trying everything. It's toothpicks and mushrooms or marshmallows and gum. They're trying everything. Mushrooms. Yeah, they might need some shrooms.
So I like the Ravens minus 3.5 in that game. And then my last one here, I like the Dolphins. I like the Lions. It's only 2.5 at home. I think that They look pretty good last week on offense. I think that Washington's offense isn't nearly what they played last week against Philly. So that just seemed like a small number for them at home. I think that it's even enough that I'm going to take that again. Sorry. It's even enough. So I'm going to take Detroit. All right, what do you got for me?
Yeah. So we're gonna have our first unanimous pick of the season. I'm also on the Ravens -3.5 for all the reasons you guys said, so I can move right on past that one. I'm with you, Robert, on the Lions for a lot of the same reasons you said. Obviously, we're keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that we get good news on Ragnow and Jackson and DeAndre Swift heading into the weekend. But for the time being, feel like they should have their way with Washington at home. I'm also going to go with the Vikings for a lot of the reasons you said, Nate. Great game. It's our game of the week for a reason. I really buy this Vikings team. They were an NFC Championship game pick for me before the season. Bet them to win the NFC North before the season. Wow. I really think that we're going to see them continue to do a lot of the cool things they did offensively against the Packers last week on Monday night against the Eagles. So I'm bringing 2 new picks to the party here. What a bounce back week this should be for the Indianapolis Colts. You guys talked about this earlier in the week. I mean, they really dominated that game against Houston. Outgained them by more than 200 yards. It's
hard to pick them with giving that many points at
It's a lot of points. It's
a wasteland for them. They have not won there in so long. Every single game they play in that swamp of a stadium is such a weird-ass game that the 4.5, I wanted to do it so bad. And I was like, I can't. If they were playing anybody else, the bounce back game would be the exact logic that I would apply to it.
But it's their
with Jacksonville, it's like, I can't. I just know something super weird is going to happen.
I get it.
Totally. A 3-0 Colts win or like a 48-45 Colts win. I just know that. And that's why I couldn't do it.
I am extremely invested in Trevor Lawrence in fantasy leagues, so I would take the latter, even though it would mean losing this pick. But they outgained Houston by more than 200 yards last week. They had 33 first downs in that game. There was no answer for Jonathan Taylor. Another concern injury-wise for a team I'm backing here, Michael Pittman, limited in practice on Wednesday, out of practice on Thursday. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that. But the Colts, I mean, they should have won that game against Houston last week. I think they bounced back against Jacksonville and covered the 4.5 here. And then, guys, I know I picked the Giants. I was very happy to take the kudos on them last week, but there was some good fortune in that. And so they're at home. They're playing a Panthers team who are not super excited about right now. I love the quote about we averaged whatever yards per play over the last 35 minutes coming from the Panthers. I mean, that's hilarious. I'm all down for mocking them there.
I want them to coach forever, man.
The Giants as favorites. The Giants 2.5-point favorites in week 2 because they got by the skin of their teeth against the Titans team who none of us is excited about. I'll go ahead and take the 2.5 points, hold my nose, and back the Panthers here.
Wow. I really wanted to take the Bills plus 10.5 against the Titans, but 10
right, points. That's a lot of points. There's so many. There was I found this week to be really hard. There were only the only games that I feel like, oh yeah, no doubt about it, that I clicked in for sure were the Vikings and the Colts. And then other than that, I had a little bit of trouble making my other picks.
This is I go Vikings or Ravens, and this is how I go 3-2 because then those are going to be the two that don't back for or don't cover for me. That's just how it always works.
When it's 3-0 Colts halfway through the third quarter, you are going to hate yourself so much.
It's
and
true.
You're going to remember this moment when that ends up happening. If Michael Pittman doesn't play this week, you can pack in my fantasy season. It's over. if he's hurt for any stretch of time, I'm just blowing it up. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. It would be so devastating. I don't know if I'd be able to process that. So you guys just check on my well-being if we get news over the next 48 hours and he's not playing.